And we'd like to welcome Mark Thomas to address the Beggars Union Conference.
Thank you very much. Conference, General Secretary, Mr. President, delegates, brothers, sisters, comrades. Thank you. Thank you very much for asking me to come and talk, to be with you. It's a delight to be here. It's a delight to be with one of the most significant unions fighting the struggle for working people today. Because I believe the Bakers Union is fighting amongst some of the poorest paid, some of the people with the least protection, and it is a privilege to be with you today and to be part of that struggle. And for that and for inviting me here, I thank you very much. It's also a privilege to be here because I'm just thrilled that Greggs is unionised and that it has national agreements, it has paid holidays. I have looked for years for an excuse for those sausage rolls. And now I can say, diet be damned, it's an act of solidarity. Thank you very much. I have sometimes been known to show an act of solidarity with Greggs workers up to 3 or 4 times a day. So, I've been a union member since I was 18, and I think now more than ever, it's important to actually be a trade unionist and to fight to get the movement to grow and to grow stronger. And you've only got to look at the political landscape that we face. I should make a pointed declaration here. I'm not a Labour Party member, because I'm a socialist, but I am a Corbyn supporter. I'm very pleased that Jeremy Corbyn is leading the Labour Party, and I'm pleased for all sorts of reasons. One, because I love the fact that he looks like someone's granddad who's just come in off a demo. That's what I love. I love the fact he's sitting there grumbling in the corner with a banner, and he's going, I'll tell you what's wrong with this country, I'll tell you what we should do to fix it. And someone's gone, well, you should stand. He's gone, well, I will, and he has, and he's won. And everyone's like, bloody hell, that's fantastic. That's what our movement should actually be about. I believe that there's once every single day Jeremy Corbyn finds a quiet moment in Westminster to go, bloody hell, I've only done it. I think it is fantastic. I think it's also fantastic that Jeremy Corbyn is leading the Labour Party, because I've been on picket lines with Jeremy Corbyn. I've been on many picket lines with Jeremy Corbyn, and it's brilliant to be on a picket line with a Labour leader rather than having a Labour leader who slagged me off for going on a picket line in the first place. So it's brilliant, it's a breath of fresh air. I want Jeremy Corbyn to become Prime Minister for many reasons, one of which is I want to hear the sound of Rupert Murdoch vomiting his own sphincter in rage. But I also want Jeremy Corbyn to become Prime Minister because what he is indicative of the movement. It's not the person, the individual, it's the movement. It's the fact that we all get there that's important. I'm going to support someone who actually wants to renationalise the railways. We should start there. That's where we're going to start, and we're going to get it all back. But we start on the railways. They were ours. They were sold off in a fire sale of ideological hate, of class spite and of greed. They were sold off to privateers, buccaneers, Branson, who's hailed as some kind of visionary entrepreneur, but he can't do anything unless he's state subsidised. Not even burn an island properly. I believe that we have to take the railways back, and that actually so badly run are the privatised railways, the revolution starts on that platform. That's where it starts. It starts on that platform. I've stood on packed and delayed platforms and seen with my own eyes a grown man who declaimed the words, "You bloody liar!" to a tannoy system, to a box of wires and plastic. British people famously reticent, famously don't want to get involved, famously don't want to show emotion. That man got a round of applause from every single person on the platform. Every single person clapped, with the exception of my wife, who genuinely did look embarrassed. Now, I think we also, what's great about Jeremy Corbyn, the fact, and the movement where it is now, is you've only got to look at the political landscape to see how important it is. You look at Cameron, who has the audacity to stand there and say to Jeremy Corbyn, My mother would say, get a proper suit and tie, sing the verses of the national... Your mother would say, get your knob out the pig's head. That's what your mum would say. Sorry, I do apologise for standing orders about my language. I apologise for that. Let's ask ourselves some questions about this. Is Jeremy Hunt the only person in this country seemingly unaware that A&E is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Is he unaware of that, or is it that he turns up to A&E and normal, decent human beings who've taken a Hippocratic oath look at him and go, no, jog on, mate, we're shut. How do you actually... It's incredible, this government is so reactionary. They have actually managed to radicalise doctors. Doctors are fairly sort of small C conservative people. They're not known for their kind of like revolutionary zeal. They're not known as militant. When did you last hear the words, come quick, there's trouble at triage? Osborne, hailed as an economic genius. His budget lasts 2 days. 2 days. I've known IKEA units last longer. Italian governments have lasted longer. I'm 53, I've had erections that have lasted longer. Sorry, I do apologise. By their friends shall ye know them, my friends. By their friends shall ye know them. And you ask, who are the Tories' friends? Philip Green. Philip Green, when he was the efficiency czar for government, he was asked to go and make an audit of how efficient government was by the coalition government. And he turned around and said, if he ran his business the same way that the government ran services, then, quote, the lights would be out. Well, the lights are out. And he's switched them off. And while they're out, he's had the pension fund. So let's say to these people, these friends of Cameron, the top 1%, we'll have that money back. We want it all back, and we want it all back now. This is a man who has the audacity to lecture British workers after taking his tax money offshore. He registers to go offshore, so it all goes through Monaco. So you think this is a man who doesn't actually want to pay tax, not like mere mortals like the rest of us. Here's a man who benefits from tax. He benefits from the fact that roads are created and infrastructure exists through taxpayers' money. He benefits from the fact that there are the police and the ambulance service and there is the NHS and there is the fire brigade in times of trouble. He benefits from that. He benefits from the fact that the workers he seeks to employ are educated through the state system and are treated for their health through the state system. He benefits from it, but is not prepared to pay one jot into it. We have to say to all of these people, enough is enough, and we're going to take all of that back. If you want to live like you're not part of community, you're not part of a society, then as far as I'm concerned, you don't pay tax and you're rich, then you should live in a bubble. You should hover above the ground. You shouldn't have to do anything. You should just stay in this isolated thing and ask nothing of us. And Cameron's bad, Cameron's as well, you know, this is a man. What's incredible, actually, is the number of people who would defend people taking their money offshore. And say, well, we'd all do it if we could. No, because most of us are sensible. And we're not that greedy, it's very, very simple. Well, no, man, there's a very big difference between tax evasion and tax avoidance. And what they're doing is just avoiding rather than evading tax. And as we know, evading tax is illegal. I couldn't give a monkeys. I couldn't give a monkeys whether it's avoiding or evading. You're a tax cheat, and that's the end of it. And you look at Cameron's answer when he was questioned about his offshore trust. No, it was none of our business. It was a private matter. It shouldn't matter at all. His family are not going to benefit from it in the future. He did everything but answer the question directly in the belief that question avoidance was legal and question evasion wasn't what he was doing. So, these are their friends, and these are the people who we are up against, the most vicious Tory government. The Tory governments are always an enemy of working people, and this one perhaps more than most. And then we face what I think is amazing. We face this incredible wave of people now who are telling us, all these Tories telling us how workers' wages and workers' conditions are going to be improved. or they'll be impacted if we leave or if we remain. And you look at all those people who are telling us how workers' wages are going to be affected. You know, you look at IDS, you look at Boris Johnson, you look at Chris Grayling, you look at Cameron, all of those people on the leave and the remain side telling us how workers' wages will be better whether we leave or remain. Actually, there's a very simple thing. If you want to improve workers' wages and you're part of the Tory government, then pay workers more. And while we're at it, next time you're at the Samworth Brothers around having a donors meeting, you can ask them to pay workers more, and you can ask them to reinstate Cymru. I was going to tell you a little thing about the, while I was talking on the subject of tax avoidance. I did a show called The Manifesto, where I asked people, we toured around, we did it on Radio 4, and we toured around asking people to come up with suggestions to make the world a better place. And each audience got to write down their policy ideas and their suggestions to improve the world, and they submitted them, and each night we would go through all those submissions, all those ideas, all the suggestions of policies, and we'd discuss it with the audience, and then we'd vote on which policies we wanted in our manifesto. And the winning policy went in to form our manifesto. And what I learned was there was a correlation between geography and idea. In Bristol, the audience voted to burn David Cameron in a wicker man to ensure a good harvest. In Glasgow, they shattered our preconceptions with bacon free on prescriptions. In Hull, they voted to end the toll bridge, the PFI bridge, and also the other policy they voted for in Hull, which I loved, was, quote, it should be legal for us to take fashion designers outside and bash them into the shape they think we're in. In London, they voted that all cash point machines should have a gamble button. So if you didn't have quite enough money, you give it a nudge and 3 bells come up, you're in luck. What you don't know is RBS took that concept and ran with it. And what was interesting was, sometimes we took policies from the floor. There was one guy who was a lovely bloke, he came up to the front of the stage with his policy on a piece of paper and just put it down with somewhat of a flourish. And I said, thank you. He said, that's a pleasure. And he had such a voice. I just said, would you mind reading out your policy? He said, no, not at all. And he lifts up the policy and just held it like this and said, there are too many criminal laws in England and Wales. This profusion of criminal law is causing obstruction and delay within the criminal justice system, something that runs contrary to the very tenets of natural justice. We should therefore abolish all criminal law within England and Wales and replace it with 2 offences. Offence number 1, being out of order. Offence number 2, being bang out of order. I said, that's a genius policy, mate. What do you do for a living? He said, I'm a lawyer. No offence. Now, but as we went around the country, you started to see policies emerging that showed what people wanted. And renationalising the railways was always incredibly popular, would always win. Alongside my other favourites, one of which was we should introduce a maximum wage. If we can democratically vote to have a minimum wage, the lowest amount that gets paid, then democratically we can go for a maximum wage, the most that anyone gets. And I love this idea, and I went and talked to an expert on it, so he was a Marxist accountant, and it's completely true. And because he was a Marxist accountant, I just said, well, how does that add up? And he said, nothing under capitalism adds up, actually. I said, all right, okay. But I said, I love the idea of a maximum wage. What level would you set it at? He said, I wouldn't use a level, I would use a formula. So the most anyone could earn would be, say, 10 times the national average wage. I love that idea. National average wage, about 25 grand. Means the most that anyone can earn under this formula will be 250,000 people. And sometimes when I was performing in a theatre, I'd explain that to people, and you could almost hear little pockets of people going, well, I couldn't possibly. And so I'd always point out, if you're one of those people saying, I couldn't possibly, just leave. Don't hang around, go. If you can't live off £250,000 a year, you are no use to us. Just go. We'll drive you to the airport. You go to Dubai. Jim Davidson will meet you at the other end. That's how we'll play it. And what I loved was this guy said to me, it's even better than that, Mark, because if the national maximum wage is 10 times the national average, what it means is if you're at the top, you've got to pay everyone else more money to raise the national average. And I love that. I love that idea. I love the idea of trade unionists going into meet management and going, we've had a meeting, we've decided we want a pay cut. No. But everywhere we went as well, one of the other popular ideas was that we should invade Jersey. We should invade Jersey and start shutting down the tax havens. And I'm completely with that. We should invade Jersey. There's many reasons. 1, they've got our money. 2, they've got our money. 3, we want it back. 4, it's a winnable war. It would be nice to have one that's winnable. 5, it is local. It's got low carbon emissions. 6, Prince Harry can dress in his Nazi uniform. So, these Tories represent what they represent. They represent the rich, and you know that more than anyone else. They represent the rich, and they represent the interests of the powerful. And we have to fight to get our rights back. We have to fight to improve the conditions of working people day in, day out. And this is the great thing about the trade union movement, because it has to remember one thing, and it's a lesson that we should all, you know, I'm not excluding myself from this. We have to, if we fight, we might not win. But if we don't fight, we've lost. And we have to fight. We have to fight. More than ever, it is important to remember that solidarity isn't an empty concept. This isn't a slogan. Solidarity is the thing that does 2 things. It makes us civilized. It binds us together. It means that we all get there and we don't leave people behind. And what it also is it's the only chance we've got of winning. Solidarity is the one thing we've got. Because if we genuinely are all together, if we genuinely fight to make the trade union movement stronger and bigger and to recruit more people, then we genuinely stand a chance of winning. I always kind of think it's a weird thing because, as I said, I'm a trade unionist and I'm currently a member of the NUJ and of the GMB. The NUJ is explainable. The GMB, obviously, as you know, is the General Municipal and Boiler Makers, as my wife is very fond of pointing out, when did you last make a boiler? Fair enough. I'm in the GMB because my name cropped up on the construction blacklist. This is not because I have had an extensive career in the construction industry. I did work with my dad, who was a self-employed builder, and frankly, if he found out I was on a construction blacklist, he'd say, probably best for everyone, love. But the construction blacklist is an example of what we're up against. My name cropped up because alongside the 3,000 trade unionists who are on that list, 200 activists were included. And you know, because you'll know the story of that blacklist, that people were denied employment for over a decade on the basis of wanting to be a trade unionist, on the basis of fighting for health and safety, sometimes just on hearsay and rumour. And what's incredible is that through the union like the GMB, through people like United fought it, they've managed to build a court case and to get those construction industry bosses, those companies, into court to find them guilty and to get over £78 million worth of compensation for the people who were blacklisted. So all that remains for me to say is thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm incredibly proud to be a trade unionist. I'm incredibly proud that you've invited me here today. I think the work that has been done, especially in the fast food sector, is remarkable. I think it's just thrilling to see that. I went on fast, how long have I, all right, 5 minutes. What happened was, as you know, Fast Food Workers' Day turned up, and it's a really thrilling thing to be part of because this is an international movement. I was in Glasgow when it happened, and I thought I'll go and find the picket line, I'll go and find out what's happening and join the action, find the demo. And what I've started to do is, as I get older, I've started to dress up a bit more as I go on demonstrations and on pickets. I've got a rather lovely crombie, which I like wearing, which is, as you know, the velvet and a nice little silk inside. Got a nice little tutu scarf, which is the old mod style, this is original, not a repo. And I like looking a little bit smart. And just because it always gives you the edge if you're looking better than the people who are nicking you. I always think it just gives you that. If you're going, excuse me, while you're getting slung into the van, it is quite a thing. So I've turned up there and I thought, okay, where am I going to find this demo? And lo and behold, there's about 30, 40 people wearing red Ronald McDonald's wigs with Ronald McDonald clown death makeup on. I thought, right, this is my family. Someone comes up to me and gives me a wig and said, would you put this on? I said, no, thank you, I've got this. And I've got the banner, £10 an hour in the union, and there's one guy who comes up. And I don't know if you know, I don't know if there are people, so a couple of people here might know of how the Glaswegian posh accent sounds. Because posh Glaswegian is very much like that. So it's very, very like this, like they're pushing all the words into the back of their throat for fear that actually it might just come out like that any minute. So they just keep pushing it back there just to suppress it. And a guy comes up to me, I'm sorry in advance. A guy comes up to me and says, excuse me, you're asking for £10 an hour for such menial work. Why? And I said, one, workers need the wages they need to survive. Two, you never let the bosses set the rate. And three, when you walk in there, when you get served, do any of those workers tell you to fuck off? No, they don't. That's tongue-biting money they're getting paid. That's tongue-biting money. What was brilliant was we all went, so we handed out leaflets, we go down the street, and we come across, and the police are following us, and the police got called. That's what annoyed me. The police get called to this, and that's what really irked me, was the fact that McDonald's all structure their tax affairs through Luxembourg, so they haven't paid for the cops that they've called to protect them. And if you obey the Tory rule of economics, which is you get what you pay for, then actually the cops should be working for us. Because we've paid tax. They should be working for our benefit. They should be standing there going, go and have the first window on us, go on. So the police arrive and the manageress says it's them and points to about 30 or 40 people in Ronald McDonald wigs, as if the cop wouldn't know. Not a detective, but I think he's done some training. And then everyone starts heading off down the streets, heading out leaflets to various fast food places. And they see us moving towards to another McDonald's, and the police surround it. And as they start to surround it, our mob charge into KFC and start handing out leaflets, and occupy KFC. Now, I'm last in line, I'm there in my suit, I've got my things, I walk in, the police stand in front of me and said, stop! And I've said, excuse me, officer, do you mind? I just want to get in. He said, oh, I'm terribly sorry, sir, and let me in. Which was very sweet. And everyone's there, shouting for £10 an hour in a union and handing out union membership. And that was a delight. It was a delight to be there. It was important to be there because, as you know, this struggle goes on across the world. It goes through Tokyo, it goes through California, it goes through New York, it goes through Europe. And the next day, McDonald's introduced contracts for the first time. Not the full whack, but they introduced contracts. And these are important struggles, and it's a privilege to be part of them. Thank you.
Absolutely brilliant, brother.